You've tried all forms of acting, every medium. I don't know that I believe you. Have you tried a job in video games? The technical requirements for video game acting are not like that of regular film or theatre acting. The process can be as short as recording some lines in a studio or as extensive as performing in motion capture suits, covered in dots and followed by performance capture cameras. The most obvious requisite for video game acting is a microphone. We first need your voice to bring life to the character. For games that require the physical performance of the actors, you'll need to perform in motion capture suits in order to translate your physicality into the video game. These skin-tight suits are covered in retroreflective 3D tracking markers. They perform in the middle of several motion capture tripods, which can then track these markers and translate them into a computer software and animate a 3D model in real time. Isn't that cool? Actors use head-mounted units with cameras and lights to track reflective dots on their faces, capturing their voice and facial movements as well. To render all of your performance into the game itself, whether that be voice or physical performance, the footage will need to go through a series of editing, animating, and refining to reach the final product. Very expensive softwares is used to edit your takes together and animate all of the footage they'll be using of you, just like you would for a normal movie production. As a video game actor, you must adhere to many restrictions and aren't given the leeway you're probably used to. Take voice acting work. You're confined to a small studio for recording hours and hours of dialogue, sometimes with a variety of different takes, and with the evolution of video games' detail and realism, the actors are also asked to provide more.
We crouched ran for, I think, a couple of days, because you gotta crouch run, walk, stealth with one gun, run with two guns, then you gotta crouch run with a rifle, and like 3 days later my thighs were absolutely killing me.
Another example is Marvel's Spider-Man, where actor Yuri Lowenthal acted out 2 different takes of his dialogue, one for when Spider-Man is simply walking, and one for when Spider-Man is swinging. Sometimes you'll be given very little visual context. On occasions, developers can be sparing and provide images of your character, or concept art of the environment your character will be in. Beyond that though, you're expected to make a lot of these decisions and make the world believable on your own, which can be daunting. When performing the physical parts of the character, there's 2 main responsibilities of the actor: the believability of the character and the believability of the setting. When recording in motion capture, you are never in the environment of your character. The believability of the characters and setting for the player will depend solely on how much you believe it. It can be difficult to be covered in dots, running around in front of a whole crew and still bring an authentic performance to the game. From my own experience, motion capture makes imagery 10 times harder. When you act in motion capture, you are required to do a lot more and go to the extremes. This is simply so that it is translated well into animation. This is very common when playing a character with a very otherworldly design. For actors that base a lot of their acting off their surroundings and others, this can be super overwhelming. A lot of the time, you may be required to act with no co-star, which can be a difficult task, with a lot of acting being based on reacting to someone or something. By putting their attention outside of themselves and on what they are trying to achieve, either with their partner or a physical object, they become engaged in active listening and the reality of doing. There are several techniques you can use though to work through this. The first being masking. Before making superficial choices, simply doing a masking exercise can help you discover a lot and make big choices for your character. You're given creative liberty and space to explore. It's a skill that draws on your innate understanding of where you are in space, how you move, and how you hold yourself. Ongoing adjustments to balance, spatial orientation, and physical alignment that tend to happen unconsciously. Body image. In other words, the way that we feel towards our bodies and which inspires us to make conscious adjustments to posture. Another technique is psychological gesture. Since mocap often involves creating movements for non-human characters or those with exaggerated physical traits, like creatures or robots, psychological gestures can be incredibly helpful. The actor can use their body to embody the emotional and psychological essence of the character, translating internal states into clear, expressive physicality. This allows the mocap performance to translate well into animation and enhance character design with depth and meaning. Michael Chekhov's own psychological gesture for Hamlet was an imaginary arm endlessly stretching through prison bars. Viewpoints. Viewpoints can assist an actor in feeling the space and being aware of their body in the space. Viewpoints can assist in helping you overcome the disconnection from the real world by focusing on spatial awareness and how to navigate and interact with the virtual environment. For physicality, you could experiment with shape, gesture, architecture, spatial relationship, tempo, duration. For voice, you could experiment with pitch, volume, dynamic, acceleration, deceleration, and silence. It frees us from the statement, "my character would never do that," in Viewpoints. There is no good or bad, right or wrong. There is only possibility and later in the process, choice. Laban efforts. Motion capture work can have very exaggerated movements or very precise. With Laban, you can understand these dynamic movements with precision and control. Laban will allow you to break down your character's movements into its component parts. Is your character a slash, a float, or a punch? You will discover a personal way of working with the efforts that meets different needs according to context. This approach will empower you by giving you the confidence and ability to unlock a richer palette of physical expression during any kind of work. By utilizing a selection of different techniques, ones that work best for you, you'll be able to perform much more fluidly and you'll adjust to the requirements of video game acting just fine. With a firm grasp on your craft, you'll overcome the restraints and limitations of acting for a video game. Your job is to completely disappear into your role and convince the players that this fictional character is a living, breathing person.